Welcome everyone. My name's Sandi Hayes. I'm a professor at the Menzies Health Institute, Queensland, which is based at Griffith University. And in the next couple of minutes, I'd like to talk to you about the role of exercise with respect to the prevention and treatment of lymphedema. In 2018, there was an international meeting that brought together exercise oncology experts across the world to update our international exercise and cancer exercise prescription guidelines for people with cancer. And what you're seeing on the slide is the prescription that was generated as a consequence of this meeting and a general review of the evidence base after the meeting. Now, you'll see for the purposes of lymphedema, the recommendation was that a supervised progressive resistance-based exercise program was safe for those at risk of or with breast cancer-related lymphedema, but that there was insufficient evidence to draw safety conclusions for unsupervised exercise, aerobic exercise, or for those at risk of or with other types of cancer-related lymphedema. Now, this recommendation didn't fully sit right with me because I have been watching and have been involved with exercise and lymphedema studies over the past 20 years and have seen a real exponential increase in the number of studies that have been published and the range of the exercise interventions that have been evaluated within these studies to really wonder, is this where we're at? Are we still just questioning whether exercise is safe, or can we go a little bit further and actually question, but is it effective? Can exercise actually prevent lymphedema? And can it help manage lymphedema? And is it really only about resistance-based exercise, or are other exercise modes just as beneficial? So I led the systematic review and meta-analysis, which specifically evaluated the effects of exercise on lymphedema incidence and lymphedema management, including both the acute and long-term effects. In undertaking this review, we were also interested in exploring whether this effect differed according to exercise mode, such as resistance-based exercise versus aerobic-based exercise, whether it differed according to the degree of supervision. So was supervised exercise really what people who are at risk of lymphedema or with lymphedema should be undertaking? Whether it differed according to the duration of the intervention, and then with respect to lymphedema prevention, whether it was influenced by the degree to which extent someone's lymph nodes had been removed. So maybe it was only relevant for people who are at the greatest risk of lymphedema, such as those who have more extensive lymph node removal. Now, I'm very happy to report that this systematic review and meta-analysis has been recently accepted for publication in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise. And the time of the publication is spot on, given that it was accepted in March, and March is lymphedema month. So what has been assessed? Well, over the past 20 years, we've had 12 studies that have evaluated exercise and its role in the prevention of lymphedema, and another 26 studies evaluating the role of exercise in the management of lymphedema. And within these exercise trials, a long list of exercise modes have been evaluated, including aerobic-based exercise, which has included things like use of treadmills and cycle ergometers, walking, Nordic walking, as well as resistance-based exercise that has involved free weights, therabands, the use of machine weights, and then a long list of other types of exercise that might not fall specifically as aerobic or resistance-based exercise, such as yoga, football, aquajogging, trampolining, Pilates. The intensity of the exercise that has been undertaken has ranged from low to high. Exercise interventions have involved sessions with durations of 20 minutes in length through to 60 minutes, once a week through to multiple times a week, and of 4 weeks in duration through to 12 months in duration. And about 40% of the intervention trials have involved mostly unsupervised exercise. So rather than present the very research academic results slides as part of this presentation, I thought it would just be more appropriate to give you the key take-home messages from this work. And the first is that participation in exercise is not just safe for those at risk of lymphedema, but it has a real role and potential in the prevention of lymphedema. And this is particularly the case for those with more extensive lymph node dissection. And our findings did show that for those who had more extensive lymph node dissection, exercise can, in fact, prevent lymphedema. In terms of the role of exercise in the treatment of lymphedema, well, the work demonstrated that those who were participating in exercise showed reductions in their lymphedema versus those who were in the control group who did not. So participation in exercise may reduce lymphedema, and importantly, concurrently, it leads to improvements in other health outcomes that are relevant for people with lymphedema, including reducing lymphedema-associated symptoms like pain, difficulty or reductions in range of motion. And it also improves things like musculoskeletal strength, endurance, and cardiovascular fitness. Really important health outcomes for people with lymphedema. So what's the real kicker, the real take-home message? And that is that anyone who is at risk of lymphedema or with lymphedema needs to move, and likely move more. Any exercise is good. Any exercise in terms of whether it's aerobic-based exercise, resistance-based exercise, or any other form of exercise that you like to participate in, it's good. Some exercise is generally better than none, and more is generally better than less. And I've been harping on with these messages with respect to just what's the take-home message for people who have been diagnosed with cancer for quite some time. And they're not, so these messages are not unique. They're, maybe even classified as boring, but unfortunately, this is what what the research is telling us. Any exercise is good. Some is better than none. More is generally better than less. For those with lymphedema or who have lymphedema symptoms, you need to be guided by your symptoms in terms of how quickly you progress. But the target, we're looking at 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week, and you've got the rest of your life to get there. So I'll finish on that note and just remind you again that the paper has been published. So if you want a more detailed account of the methods and the results, please go to the paper to check this out. And then finally, you can contact me via any one of a number of ways, with the way to do that on the screen. Thank you very much.